Thanks for the support as a channel member, Exos Gaming. No, I still don't get how you can be disappointed that we're not currently challenging to win the Super League when we're top of the table, clear by 20 points, haven't lost a game all season. Yeah, but that's not how the league works. It splits soon. We can't be crowned champions yet. That's not how it works. It's got to split in two. We're almost certainly going up as champions. But you're still disappointed. You're judging me on this stuff. Hello and welcome to part 5 of the Greek Odyssey. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have is it the quarter-final of the Greek Cup? I think it's the quarter-final second leg of the Greek Cup. We're playing against Super League 1 opposition again, having already knocked Panathinaikos out in previous round. We're now playing Panionios in the quarter-final with a very good chance. We went to their place, drew 0-0 in the first leg, and now we've got the home leg coming up. League-wise, we are well clear. We're 17 points clear at the top of the league. Still haven't lost a game all season. Unfortunately, the board are still disappointed that we're not challenging to win the Super League, because until the league splits in two, it's not possible to do that. So they're disappointed with that. They're also disappointed that I'm now not working within the wage budget. They're very disappointed that I'm not signing young players for the first team. So despite dominating the league that we're in and being in the quarterfinal of the cup, they're only satisfied with my management. This is Mrs Wearmouth. She is an unreasonable woman. What's also unreasonable is the amount of players we've lost and are going to be losing. We saw Larea go in the last episode. Choo Choo has now gone as well. Luckily, I've been able to cheer up everybody apart from Fat John, who's still upset about Larea leaving. But a lot of them have been cheered up by agreeing to leave. These are all the players who are going to be leaving at the end of the season when their contracts are up. Fat John, Blazic, Cole, Thomas, Iritia, Nikos, Markovsky. So, like, the entire first team are leaving in the summer, and we're already we're way over our wage budget as well. I have brought in a couple of players to try and fill some gaps in the team that were created by these guys leaving. We've got Igor Jovanovic, who's a 30-year-old Croatian defender, who's come in previously everywhere in Europe. He's done the tour. He has got some miles. He has got some stamps on his passport. Look at that for a career. But he's in, barely played. Burkic is our new goalkeeper, who's played a little bit more. Still not loads of games for him. Menendez has probably played more than anybody. 4 whole games because he's our new left-back, replacing Choo Choo. And then we've also got another striker, Athanasiadis, who's a 31-year-old Greek striker who he's not done so much of a tour, just a couple of years over in Israel, and now he's back in Greece. The reason I'm not signing loads of young players is because we've already got loads of young players, so it seems silly to sign them. We have managed to lose out on one of them. Makis Kafantaris is joining OFI in the summer. He's a 4-star potential player, but everyone else down here we have managed to tie down to deals of our own. So Stavros Kaimikamis, for example, will be drafted into the first team squad very soon, and you can see we've got lots of other players in the process of doing their own Mick Powell and getting themselves ready for the first team. Plus, we have a new youth intake due any time. So this is a terrific group of players coming through as a potential to be a real golden generation. That's what we want to see. That's absolutely what we want to see. But it does mean the signings I'm just bringing in cheap signings. Just cheap. That's the criteria. I'm not looking at the age of somebody. I'm looking, can they do a job for us now? Are they cheap? Because long term, it's going to be our youth players. And we're literally just trying to plug gaps created by that. And then that's happening in the summer. All the players that make us look too good for this division, all going to be leaving. It is a hideous state of affairs. But let's not worry about that. Let's have this group of players go out of a bang. Let's win the Greek Cup and win the title. Let's do a ridiculous double. We're going with Burkic in goal, a back four of Menendez, Zizopoulos, Kyrgias and Balakis, Halilaj at the base of the midfield, Gino and Blazic ahead of him, Iritia and Thomas supporting Nikos up front. Let's get stuck into this. That looked like they didn't have a kit. It was just entirely black, no trim or anything on that. Does that just mean they don't have a kit loaded, or do they just play in an entirely black kit? Because that is pretty cool if they do. No trim. Just looks like a Tesco value Florence and Fred plain black T-shirt. Pick up where you left off last time. Basically, the entirety of my wardrobe. Plain black T-shirts, usually with some kind of motif on. Although today, I am wearing the yellow shirt that you'll all tell me is not yellow because the green screen ruins it. We're probably going to have to... Hold on. We need proof. Proof that the shirt is not green. There you go. And then turn it back again. The shirt is yellow. This is why I wear black shirts, so we don't have to have that problem. Now I've got to remember to edit that as well. Midway through a match. I'm just creating work for myself at this point. We've just won a penalty. Thomas charging forward on that right-hand side, and it's going to be Nikos with the opportunity to put us 1-0 up and get us one step closer to a Greek Cup semi-final, and it is Apollon 1, Panionios 0 in the second leg and on aggregate because it was 0-0 from the first leg. I hope the fans have turned out in some decent numbers today. It still looks like the entire lower tier is empty. We're used to the lower tier being empty. I just don't think we bother opening it. But I'd like to... I see there's no one in the upper tier either. We're in the quarterfinal of the Cup. Does the Greek Cup mean nothing? Surely this is a route into Europe. And Europe is where the money is. And money is what we need to make a success of this save. Gino with a shot from range. Very, very close. I mean, it was millimetres away from ducking underneath that crossbar and extending our lead. And a 2-0 lead starts to look very impressive. All of a sudden, everyone's turned up at half-time. It was an 8 o'clock kickoff. All the locals, though, were working until 8:30, clearly. Because now, from this view, the place is absolutely packed. Okay, they're all on this side. Is this the side the camera's on normally? They just don't want to sit on the other side? The rest of the ground looks full. Does that mean it's just full of away fans? Right, don't get complacent. There's still nobody sat over here. I think if I was the cameraman for Apollon, I would stick the camera on the other side so it looks like we've got some audience. You want the hard cam facing the crowd. I've learnt that from wrestling. Look, there's loads over here. Nobody on all of the bits that we get to see though. During the highlights, Gino to Halilash. There's 4,000 people here apparently. 3,000 of them nearly are away fans. So we can't even get the Apollon faithful out for a quarter-final of the Greek Cup. This is the best team this club has potentially ever had. I know we're not in the top tier, but Nikos has just put us 2-0 up. A 15th goal of the season for him. Bearing in mind, one of this club's claims to fame, one of the greatest moments in this club's history, as we saw in episode 1, was getting to the cup final in the mid-90s. They didn't even win it, but it's a high point in the history of the club, was getting to the cup final once 30 years ago. And here we are, close to being able to repeat that feat, and only 1,000 people can be bothered to turn up and see us do it. Might go and manage AEK Athens instead. Get Mrs Wearmouth on the phone. She's got connections there. Right, let's get Fat John on as well. Fat John can come on and play 20 minutes at the end of the game before he has to take his inhaler, hopefully. Right, let's pause again. Final substitution. Thomas is going to come off now. Kyriakidis will come on and play on that right wing. He prefers to play as the attacking midfielder, but as you know, we don't use one. So he needs to get used to playing on the right wing. But it looks like we're into the semi-final of the Greek Cup, boys and girls. This was absolutely not on the cards this season. And it makes it even more absurd that Mrs Wearmouth is still only rating me a C+, which I've heard that before over the years. But she's only rating me as a C+, despite the fact we're dominating the league and massively overperforming in the Cup. I need to check that we weren't expected to do this well. But surely, if all of the Super League clubs are in this, to have a second division team in the semi-final is ridiculously good. Let's just give him a pat on the head. And where's Club Vision? It's there. So we were supposed to reach the sixth round. Now we're into the semi-final. Stop being disappointed about that, you crazy woman. Right, when's our next game? Do we have the draw? Oh, we already... No, there you go. The Greek Cup semi-final is going to be there. I want the draw. Here we go then, semi-final draw. So it's Olympiakos, PAOK Salonika, Lamia, and us. What division there in the Super League as well? Right. I've heard of the first two. I don't know who the other ones are. Right. Any of these are going to be difficult, aren't they? Olympiakos are top of the league. Lamia are 9th, and PAOK are 3rd. So we want to avoid those two. We want Lamia, please. So we don't want these. Olympiakos. They're quite good, aren't they? They're quite good. Well, apparently they didn't get into any continental competition, despite finishing 2nd. What, that doesn't even get them into the Europa League? That can't be right. How can they not? They must have been in the Europa League this year. They were. They lost in the 3rd qualifying round. Greek football's not very good, is it? Yikes. Yikes. Sweeping changes for the league game then. Kalapitas comes in to play at centre-back. See, we're bringing some of the youngsters in. He can play anywhere across the back four, but at 6'1", he's a centre-back for me. Still only 2.5-star current ability, but 5-star potential. We gave him his debut in the previous league game. Expect to see more of him, certainly for as long as we continue to dominate the way we have been. Fat John comes in midfield as well, and then a complete change to the front three. Gaitanidis and Karagounis on the wings, and another youngster coming in up front, Makis Louris, who wants to be a target man. I've had the conversation with him, explaining to him if he wants to ever play for me, he needs to change his mind about that. So I just keep telling him he's a poacher, and eventually he'll believe me. So he comes in as a poacher. But 2 18-year-olds in the team as we start to prepare for life after all of the stars leaving. I think we've only the only one of the established players in that team is Fat John, of the ones that are leaving. Everyone else who's leaving not taking part today, as we look to put together a team that can still be good, but not have all of those fancy pantsies who've decided to desert us as part of it. I fully expect you to pick up a win. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different playing in that higher league, which we're almost certainly going to be doing. We're so far clear. I know we've still got the championship group to play through yet, which is going to be another 10 games, but we've got, 2 games, so 12 games left in total, 2 games left of the regular season, then the 10 games of the championship group, and we're potentially going into those final 12 games. I mean, at the moment, 18 points clear, although Giannina do have a game in hand, but to have more points gap than games left is always a pretty good sign you're probably going to be okay. So I would expect us to be playing in the Super League 1 next year. And it's whether these youngsters can make the step up to that. What we don't want to do is go up and come straight back down again, because that could be a bit of a disaster. And I do think if we'd have kept this squad together, we'd be a mid-table team in the division above next year. We've now beaten 2 mid-table Super League 1 teams as part of the Greek Cup run. So we know we can, or we know this group, or the group of players you've just seen, not necessarily this group of players, but we know the players who started the season as our first team can compete mid-table in the division above. And now we need these youngsters to step up and show that they can as well. Karagounis grabbing his 3rd goal of the season, coming in off that right wing. It's a good cross from Gaitanidis. There we go. Look, in-swinging cross on his right foot. And it's a lovely header into that top corner to put us 1-0 up and push that points gap out to 20 points now over Giannina, who are in 2nd place, but obviously still with that game in hand. Although games in hand, utterly irrelevant. When the points gap is 20 and we've got 27 goals on them as well, the fact they've got a game in hand, they may as well have 4. It's not going to make a difference. Right, Fat John is complacent. See, he doesn't want to be here. Fat John's mind is already on wherever he's ending up next. We all thought he was going to become a hero with a save, but he was just in that group of players who never intended to do more than a season here at Apollon, no matter how it turned out. They were just here for a paycheck, and when they realised they weren't getting one, they've all legged it. Ioannidis is going to come on because he hasn't actually agreed to leave yet, so he might be involved next season. And then we'll bring Kyriakidis on in midfield because he's another one who's going to be here next year. As it stands at the moment, obviously, there's still the possibility for several more of them to decide to leave. There's a lot of players around the club who still haven't signed contracts and don't want to. But I'm holding out hope that as soon as they see that we're going up, they might change their mind. I wonder if the same thing that is confusing Mrs Wearmouth into thinking we're having a bad season, I wonder if that's also causing a lot of these players to think, well, I was here to get promoted and now it doesn't look like we're going to, even though we obviously are, but the game just doesn't seem to be able to handle these seasons that split in 2. How does it work in Scotland? Because Scotland does that same thing. Got another one of our youngsters coming here, Makis Chios. who has also played one game previously. He's going to come on and play at centre-back. But does it have the same issues in the Scottish League? Because you would think, I can understand if it was just a weird quirk of the Greek League that it had these divisions that split off into. But with a league so close to home for Sports Interactive in Scotland doing that, you would think they'd have a way for the game to handle it. And if it works in Scotland but not in Greece, then I'm really confused, because on first inspection for a numbskull like me, they look like they work exactly the same way, unless I'm missing something. But it looks like we have got ourselves a relatively comfortable victory that wasn't exactly awash with goals. And the young lad up front really is digging his heels in and trying to convince me that he's a target man. So he might never make the grade here at Apollon, because we're never going to play with a target man. But there's confirmation of our 20 games unbeaten. We've still not lost a game in the league. The only game we've lost all season was that away leg against Panathinaikos, but we beat them on aggregate. So we're having a jolly good season, and we will be back tomorrow for certainly the semi-final of the Greek Cup against Olympiakos. But also by that point, I imagine we'll have had the split of the leagues as well, so we'll be able to see what that looks like and what Mrs Wearmouth thinks about it. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos, and thank you very much for watching.